I came here to heal, I came here to grow. Lesson in love, they helped me let go. I chose this path, I chose this time. Everything I need, I hold inside. I came here to heal, I came here to grow. Lesson in love, they helped me let go. I chose this path, I chose this time. Everything I need, I hold inside. Welcome and welcome back to another episode of Rebuilding Me, the Art of Starting Again, with me, Tisha Michelle, your host. Alright guys, I hope the quality of this comes out well, because I am actually driving right now, but something dropped in and I wanted to share it with you guys. So, a little story time. Alright, so those of you that may not know, because I've talked about this previously before, but I used to own a home care agency where I would send caregivers out to the homes of the elderly and the disabled who would rather age in place and instead of going to a big box facility. Well, long story short on that, the way that actually came about was through someone saying that my idea wasn't a good idea, and it was because I was working for a previous agency, and when I was working for that agency, they had me in charge of getting the caregivers certified, and then I said, hey, doing all this research, why don't you guys just add this on as another stream of income? We already have the nurse, you have the caregivers that need to get it certified. It's a win-win situation, and again, it's another stream of income for the agency. Well, the person that was in charge of that was like, that's not a good idea. Actually said, I'm just going to tell the higher ups that we have, because I was new there, we have an overzealous, employee, yada yada. I didn't even know what that meant, so I had to Google that. And I was like, okay, so let me prove to you that that my idea is a good idea. So I started it myself, used their nurse to certify their caregivers, and I made money, right? I was like, okay, let's take this a little bit further. So I grew the school, and then the home care portion landed in my lap. Well, because I had a school, we were training the caregivers, and then I would have other agencies would call me and be like, I'm such and such with this agency, and we just wanted to see if you had any students that graduate or getting ready to graduate, and they're looking for work because we have plenty of work. And I'm like, yeah, for sure. So the people that I was like, oh, they're dope, I like them, they get this, they're compassionate, they have the empathy, all of that, and I would send them to them. Then I was like, I need to be making money off of this. This is what I'm thinking. I'm like, I'm just giving these people away. But at that point, I didn't have the home care. But then the home care just fell in my lap. So at that point, now I'm feeding my home care agency with my caregivers because they're going through my school. Yes, we have the government's curriculum, but I added to it, and we added a little more to it. So certain people, I was like, yeah, I would never have you take care of my grandmother. You're horrible. You're only doing this because the government's paying for you to be in here. So there were some of those people, and then I had some amazing people, and I would feed them from my school to the agency. So it's like having that whole ecosystem, right? So I felt very comfortable staffing, when I would get a home care client, I knew exactly who to put on there. So, and then, depending if they were full-time or not, they would be, sorry, I told you I'm driving, so I'm a little distracted. Not good. But anyway, so I would know who to put on to that case, and if they weren't working full-time, then I could have them on another case. Or when we would get a brand new client, I'm like, oh my gosh, because your caregiver is your representation, and that's the first thing. Are they going to show up? Are they going to show up on time? Are they going to be presentable? So it's it would be nerve-wracking, getting a new client, but also who am I going to have that's going to start this case? And I'm like, everybody's tapped out and whatever. So I would always want to make sure who I had to start that. So anyway, so fast forward, I have the school, have the agency, best friend dies, 2017. I'm already kind of questioning things with the agency, not just because with the agency, I was really just burnt out. When I fast forward and I look at it, I was burnt out. I didn't know what I was doing. I had $70,000 moving through my bank account consistently every month. Some clients were paying $17,000 a month for care because they had 24/7, care. I mean, I just got to this point where I was like, what am I doing? I went and bought a book that said Business for Dummies, because I was like, I am like in over my head. I have so much flowing through it, and I'm learning, and I have staff, and I'm doing all this stuff, and it was like, what in the world? Then Gloria died. Start questioning everything, my existence, all that. Make a decision. I sell the agency, go on the whole soul searching, journey. End up in Egypt for 10 days. My awakening begins. So now these spiritual gifts and everything is coming like out. But I always kept my ear to the streets of home care. Always stayed up with regulations. I'm listening to podcasts. I'm on webinars, but I have no agency. But it's just something about it, right? So I say, I'm going to start another agency. I start it, but then I don't do anything with it. End up like selling the license and all that. Then I start another one. I'm like, I don't know. It's like this tug of war thing. But really what it is like, it is a big passion of mine. Like being in like aging, I used to be so afraid of like death. And then when Gloria died, I understand getting older is such a privilege. It's such a beautiful gift, because my best friend died at 39. I'm 45. She died at 39. And then when I got my dad's death certificate, like late last year, I got that for something, and I'm looking at it, and it didn't even dawn on me that he died at 35. That's 35. And I'm like, here I am afraid of getting older and not understanding and realizing it's beautiful. It's a gift. And it was always like one of those funny things where they'd be like, oh, introduce yourself and tell us something like funny about you or whatever. I would just be like, I'm Tisha, blah, blah, blah. I'm afraid of getting old and I own a home care agency. No, I'll be like, I'm afraid of getting old and dying and I own a home care agency. And the funny part about it was that I'm around nothing but age and death, because clients died. And I'd go to every funeral, and I was like, what? So having that and the way it all came about, I know it was to help me understand how precious life is, and being in that vulnerable state of aging. And aging, we want to age gracefully. So like, it was more than just sending a body. Like I would never just send a body out there, to the home of the someone's loved one. It was more of a connection, and we're connecting them based off of personality. Also having our own teaching, whereas aging is a mind, body, soul thing. It's not just putting someone in to be a babysitter, like at all. No, it goes a lot deeper than that. And really start tapping into that whole cognitive, function, and how the mind controls the body, and putting that and adding that to this home care. And I'm like, that's why I'm like always was pulled to it, because I'm meant to be in this space. I always said, going all the way back to 2012, I was like, I'm going to disrupt this industry. I'm like, I don't know how, but I'm going to disrupt it. And like, I've always like said that. So anyway, fast forward again, I started another agency, but it's the same name that I had before, because now I'm past my non-compete. They didn't keep the name. They just took the clients. Oh, sorry. Did I even? Yeah, I think I told you that. I sold it. Oh, yeah, I did say that. Sorry. Distracted. Sold that in 2018. But now I'm out of my non-compete. They didn't keep the name because they added it into their agency. So I'm like, I want my name back. So I was able to get it. We're started Virginia, and now we're in Arizona. So now here I am, and I'm nervous. I'm nervous because I don't have my school. I don't have that control over the caregivers and who to put like there. So like, I get this case, and I'm like, I don't have anybody to work the case. I'm like, I'm going to work it myself, because I'm not going to turn the case down. So I'm going to work it until I find someone. And I'm so like nervous to bring anybody in new, because one, like I said, they represent you. They represent your agency, and again, are they going to show up and just getting like new people, and you're so stuck into like your routine. Even if your routine was years ago, that's like what and you're like stuck in this. So then when I connected and I think about like the art of like starting again, it's like you want to stay quote unquote stuck in that old energy of how things used to be or what worked before. So then it paralyzes you for even wanting to like move forward, because it's not like this, it's not like that. And that's like what it had been for me. And I'm like, I'll just work the case myself. Again, trying to take control instead of opening up. Because at one point, those caregivers, I didn't know them. I didn't know them at all. They signed up for my school, right? They signed up for the school, and I got to know them. And I was just like sitting here, I'm like, I am paralyzed. And I want to open this up, but at the same time, because it's not like how it used to be and what I used to have, I don't want to move forward. And I was like, whoa. All of this is connecting. So I had to like do some self-awareness checks and say, wait a minute, what do you actually really want? What is it that you are afraid of, right? So that way you can focus on that. And when I say focus, not dwelling like, oh my God, I'm so afraid. You're focusing on like the data, saying like, oh, well, this is what you used to do. This is what you used to do. This is where you feel like you're afraid of, like, okay, well, based off of what you used to do, how can you look at that and bring it to here? Because remember, guys, we're not starting over. We're starting again, and we're starting with wisdom, with experience, with skills, with growth, right? New resources that we may be overlooking, right? So I had to like analyze like that whole thing. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to start another school. How do I start a school here? That's what made you feel comfortable in a sense that comfortability allowed you to grow. And I was employing people, and people were able to age in place instead of going to a facility where they decline, and the data supports that. So it's like, I'm going to start a school. Let me start researching this. And then I was like, all right, let me actually just put an ad out here and just see what's out here and just like really just face it. Because again, when I started there, they were new to me. So the people are going to be new again, right? Okay. So I put an ad out there on Indeed. I shouldn't even be saying their name. Definitely ain't sponsored. Those people. Back in the day, Indeed was free. It still is free. But I would put an ad out there and I would get 200, 300, 400, 500 applicants and never paid a dime. Now you do the free trial, you don't get anything. In 30 days, I got one person. So I was like, dang, life is a game, and sometimes you just got to pay to play. So I paid sponsored or whatever it's called for 3 days, $135 later. Anyway, I'm about to go off on a rant. And I got all these applicants. I mean, an abundance of applicants. So I'm like calling and I'm messaging, setting them up. I'm talking to people, and it feels good. It puts me back in that energy before. It feels good because I faced it, right? I faced it, and like it feels good, and I'm talking. So then I reach out to 2 people that I do know here, and I'm like, hey, because I got another new case and I need to staff it. It starts July 21st. So I'm like, hey, I need some, just to keep me in mind, if you know anybody that's in, this space and is looking for like work, this is what the hours are, this is where it's at, let me know. So again, that is still a little more of my comfort zone as well, is tapping into the resources and the people that I know and just letting them know, just putting it out there. So there was that. So then I'm like, all right, God, let's do this. Connect me with someone, that's in alignment, that this is going to be a mutual benefit, great exchange of energy, yada, yada, yada. So I said that yesterday. I go walking this morning, and I almost didn't say it again because I don't want to be that person that's like, all right, God, this is what I'm seeking. I'm open for this. And then the next day I'm like, God, did you hear me yesterday when I said, I know y'all know what I'm talking about. So, but I was like, forget it. So I'm walking this morning, and I was like, yeah, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to expand. I said, so connect me with the caregiver that's in alignment, that's going to be in alignment with this client. I kid you not even 5 minutes later, my friend calls. Answered. She's just like, hey, she was like, she was on her way to work, and she was like, I just wanted to let you know, somebody popped in mind, and she's in the whole caregiving space, and I talked to her, and she said that she would be interested in it. I was like, okay. So we talked, and yeah, she's gonna take the case. She has the experience. She has experience and all in there, and it fits into her schedule perfectly. And I just started laughing, and I'm like, this is like, you can be like, oh, like I manifested that, but I feel like it just goes a little bit deeper. A lot of times people think when you're manifesting, you're just like, oh, this is what I want, and I'm just going to focus and stuff. But it is about taking inspired action. And before you take the inspired action, you have to get like honest with yourself, and you have to like analyze, like, what is your fear? What's going on? What's the thing? And what is it that you want? Do you actually even want to grow this agency, Tisha? Like what is it that you actually want? Right? And then it's saying like, oh, send me this. No, send me a caregiver that is going to be in alignment with this client. Because I don't want just a body. I've never wanted just a body. This is what it is. So it's like getting really clear on what it is that you want and making that declaration, like, this is what this is, and this is it, right? And just calling that in, and boom, just like that, it happened. But it happened because I got honest with myself, right? You gotta get honest with yourself when you were over your own shit or you want to do better, you want to grow, you want to have a different experience, you want to move, you want to change jobs, you want to start entrepreneurship, you want the relationship with your kids to be better, you want the relationship with your man or your woman, or your mother or your father to be better. You got to get honest. You got to get honest with yourself. And if you are still holding on to something in the past, and because you don't have that, you feel like you can't move forward, I want you to look at, if you're going to look at the past, I want you to look at it as a tool. Not like, oh man, I just wish I had that, but I can't have that anymore. But what about it that you loved? What about it, air quotes over here, worked for you? It's all just energy, just in a different form. It just is wrapped in a whole different bow. Like I always like to say, same product, different packaging. Because if you go to Walmart and Target, you're going to get the same shit. The packaging just looks different. And when I really learned that was years and years ago. I was in I thought it was a real company. They ended up scamming, but whole other story. But it was a shoe company, and you sold designer shoes. Now the person that was in charge of it, she was like a shoe fanatic, and she knew everybody in the industry, the plug, where to go. And that was how I learned that these designer shoes and stuff that we spend all this money and do all that with, they're all made in the same place. It's just the name that's thrown on there. I said, oh my goodness. Same product, different packaging. So the thing that you're holding on to in the past that you wish that you had, and which is stopping you now from moving forward, or it could be the other way. Whatever happened in the past is paralyzing you from moving forward because you think that thing might happen. So you have to analyze it both ways, where you say like, okay, I might not be able to have this anymore, which is what I was saying was my school and the connection with the caregivers was like, oh, wait a minute, you can still have it. It's just going to look different. You're here in Arizona and it's new people and you're starting again. You're not starting over. You're starting again because you're adding on to what you did there. Now, if it's something in the past that happened and you're like, oh my gosh, this happened, it's terrible. Like, for example, if a caregiver never showed up. Okay, so got cut off, so I'm going to pick back up. But this is also a beautiful thing too, that even happened, that I got cut off and I have to come back on to correct this. Nothing is perfect, right? When spirit, when God, the universe, the angels, ancestors, whatever, your intuition says to move, just move. But when we expect things to be perfect, but it has to be this and it has to be that, that's when we start to overthink and overanalyze, and we just slow ourselves down. Spirits that record talk about this, so like I did. So yeah, then it got disconnected, and now I'm having to record to add this into it. But you know what? It's perfect. And when I say perfect, it's perfect because I'm listening. I'm showing up, I'm taking inspired action, and I'm not allowing that to affect me. Because to be honest, back in the days, that whole thing that I just did 17 or so minutes before it disconnected, I would have said, I have to do it all over again. But then if I would have done it all over again, I wouldn't have had the same energy. You might not have even connected with me because it's a whole different, I'm like, because this one little mistake and I didn't want to record again and combine them together, I have to do it all over again. But it's not going to be in the same energy. It's going to be in the energy of trying to be perfect instead of taking inspired action and just speaking. But okay, let's get back to what I was trying to say. So what I was saying, when you analyze it and look at it from the other way, and I was saying like with the caregiver, I'm like, oh, I had an experience where a caregiver didn't show up to a new case, and it was like my worst nightmare came true because I was super stressed about it, having to put a new caregiver that I don't know anything about other than they interviewed, they have their certification, blah, blah, blah. They didn't even come from the school, right? Okay, they didn't show up, and you're like, what the heck? So that does put this fear where it's like, well, I don't ever want to have someone completely brand new start a completely brand new case like ever again. Well, that's not realistic if I'm growing and there's more people that I want to serve. It's not realistic. So what I can do is look at that thing that I looked at as, air quote again, as a bad thing in like a negative way, and now it's not allowing me to move forward. So what I can say, instead of I'm starting over, starting again, I'm looking back at that situation and saying, what can I do differently because that happened? Okay, well, one thing is whenever we start a brand new caregiver on a brand new case, either someone from the office is going to meet them at the house and actually introduce them to the client. Because one, that may make that caregiver actually show up. Because see, backstory, this is what happens with people in the home care space. Unfortunately, they don't really value, a lot of the caregivers don't really value themselves. They say like, I'm just a CNA, I'm just a PCA, I'm just a caregiver, where in actuality, you're so much more than that. You are the reason why someone gets to age in place instead of having to go to a facility. Think about it, you're 30, 35 years old, and you finally purchase your first home, and you have a 30-year mortgage, and you get ready to get to the end, and finally, after you worked hard to pay that off, and boom, you got Alzheimer's or dementia, and now you gotta go to a home. Like, you can't even get to staying at home until you cross over or whatever. So, but it's like old school nursing. You actually get to care for a person. You get to be around them. They get to talk about their memories and all those things. So it's super, super important. But a lot of caregivers think that they're so low on the totem, but they're actually the backbone to home care. So the thing is if they're offered X amount of money in this agency, where say I only have a 20-hour case, in the process of them getting ready to start, if another agency, because they can, get with plenty of agencies, it's not like you're stuck with just one, you can only do one. Well, if they they fill out for that agency, and that agency calls them and says, hey, I have a 40-hour-a-week case, it's, or 3 12-hour shifts or whatever, like, can you take it? They're going to take it. And then they're not going to show up for the other case. Some people will be honest and say something. Majority, they just won't show up. So it's a thing. So the fear is actually valid because it's a worldwide thing. Or if another agency offers them $1 more, they're going to go with that. So anyway, now that they know that they have to meet someone there to introduce them, it might help for them to show up. Or if it's not someone from the office that's meeting them, then it's a senior caregiver, another caregiver that we have that we really trust and that's worked with us for a while. And we're saying, hey, we need you to go over there to introduce them and to hang with them for a couple of hours. They get paid for it and all. So now they also know either they're meeting someone from the office or a caregiver. But even if they don't show up at all, somebody's there. Somebody's there. So if that new caregiver does not show, but that senior caregiver is there, that client is going to have care. That client's not going to know, per se, whatever is, that, oh my God, the person didn't show up or whatever the case is. So, or if somebody from the office, we're there, we say, hey, we're just, kind of get the lay of the land, want to help through, kind of see what the routine is so we can pass it on to the caregiver, which just buys us time, but also allows that person to get there. That makes me feel more comfortable. So I took a situation that I felt was bad and I turned it into experience and wisdom so that way I am able to move forward over here and I'm not letting that cripple me. So the thing is for us to look at all the experience we had, whether you perceive the experience to be good or bad, because it's all on what we give it and what we assign it. Because like I said, it's all energy and it's up to us what we dictate or where that energy goes. So if we think that situation was bad, it's going to be bad. You're going to find all the negative things around it. If you're like, oh my God, I'm so happy I had that experience, then your mind is going to go into all the great reasons why. Because like when you have a belief, you're going to validate that belief or you're going to invalidate that belief. And it does come back to us. So when you are starting again, it's about collecting all the data of your experiences that's connected to, that you feel that is connected to this particular situation. And you won't look at it as like, I got to start all over. I don't know what to do. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You've had experiences. Now you get to choose if you're going to have that experience again, or if you're going to have a new experience because you're going to adapt and you're going to make a change. And that, my friends, is the power that we all have. So I wanted to just share this with you guys, and I do apologize if the audio isn't the best, okay? But I wanted to make sure you got that message. Until next time, love you guys.